Hello, fellow babies. Today we'll be looking at the Type C3, which is a sort of a new cube on the market. The Type C cube has been a well-known and respected speed cube for a very long time, and recently, when Guhong and Alpha and F2 and all those nice cubes came out, the Type C kind of fell behind. So, will the new Type C3 be able to put its place among all the speed cubes out there? Well, I guess we'll have to look and see. So anyway, here is the Type C3. Now, I wanted to review this cube earlier, but unfortunately they sent me an Alpha 3. They misjudged my order, and it took a couple weeks later, and I got finally the C3. So, let's take a look at the bastard. Right here we have the core, and it has kind of this white, milkish gray color. Kind of reminds me of an F2. Yeah, the F2 is only a little bit darker though in the core. You can see that. So it's in color it looks a lot like an F2. I can't say much else about the core. Looks normal, nothing fancy. The centerpieces look kind of like an Alpha 5-ish with the hinges over here. And we're going to take a look at the pieces here. Now, the edge pieces, well, let's look at the corner pieces first. The corner piece looks identical to an Alpha 5. Here is my Alpha 5. It looks identical to an Alpha 5. Here is an Alpha 5. And here is the Type C3. Now, the only difference between these two is that the Type C3 has sort of a dent here. You see that? It has that cut, triangular cut here, while the Alpha 5 does not. So that's kind of a, they're identical in size, so it's very Alpha 5-ish. Now, the edge pieces on the Type C3, that's where all similarities end. They look really weird. This is how the edges look. And you will notice that it has kind of like these rows here, which is kind of like an Alpha 5-ish. But on the Alpha 5, these things go like, they don't go horizontal, they go parallel. They go like this. That's an Alpha 5. So that's new, and also the way these edges work, it looks a lot more like an F2 actually, in fact, more than a Type C. That's an F2, and this is the C3. So they are quite similar actually, in fact. They're kind of weird though, because they have all like this weird sharp edges like that. I don't know if you can see that, but there you have it. So now we're going to put this together. Now, the cube itself is kind of smooth. It is, in fact, well, really smooth, to be honest. I haven't had much problems with it. It hasn't popped, at least not yet. It's kind of quiet in comparison to all the other cubes, and it's kind of lightweight, like most cubes. It's actually a little bit lighter than an Alpha 5. I should have my Guhong here somewhere. Anyway, a little heavier than an F2 though. So, anyways, there's one thing that I should mention about this cube, which is kind of typical of the Type C. Here is a Type C. When you turn the cube, it sort of locks every time you do a full turn. It locks like that. And the normal Type C also does this. It's difficult to explain. It's just that when you turn it, it's not so smooth. It kind of locks in several segments when you're trying to turn it. So I guess it's really good if you're kind of like a precise turner, or imprecise turner actually, in fact, because it kind of locks every time you're trying to turn. This could, however, work against you when you're doing a double flick, because when you're trying to do a double flick, it kind of locks in here in this position before being able to turn again. I don't know what does this, but the normal Type-C also does this. So I guess it's something it's supposed to do. When it comes to corner cutting, it is pretty good. It can easily cut half a piece. Let's try it a little bit more than half a piece, and it does that pretty good as well. It cannot cut when this part is aligned here. It's pretty close to 45 degrees, but more like 43. It sort of can't do that, but it's very close compared to the Guhong. It cuts corners just equally well as the Guhong, actually, if you're really interested in that sort of thing. See, when this ridge is aligned with this one, it can't cut it. Same thing with the Type-C3. But as soon as that ridge is a little bit left of this part, no problem. So it's pretty much identical to the Guhong, actually, in terms of corner cutting, which is actually pretty good. I've timed myself a couple of times with this cube, and I've gotten pretty good results. Nothing out of the ordinary, though. Sticker's good. Overall, I would say it's a very good cube, actually, in fact. I would recommend it, especially if you're into the Type-C. It's a very weird cube, but check it out. Link in the sidebar thingy. Right? Take care, guys.